Hello everyone, I am Tyla, or Miss Newland Nell as my students call me, and I am a primary school computer teacher and remedial educator in South Africa. So today I'm very excited to share with you about my very first lesson teaching AI in the computer lab. And I'm going to talk about what went well, what I learned, and hopefully some tips on how you can also approach this in your classroom or computer lab. So, my school uses knowledge network resources, and I was very lucky or fortunate. Before the term started, I attended a professional development Zoom meeting with the lady in charge, as well as some other computer teachers from South Africa, and we had a lot of fun playing with AI. We use CoPilot, so Microsoft CoPilot, as it is believed that it's a bit better for primary school children, and it also fact checks its information a lot better than what ChatGPT could just pull some strange sources. So we had a lot of fun in that professional development session. We actually did the project ourselves, and I think that's so important as a teacher. You need to be doing the project yourself so you can kind of figure out what goes well, what doesn't go well, make mistakes, and know how to explain to your learners so that they don't make the same mistakes. So another important thing is that the week before I started with the AI project, I got my learners to do a very similar project without AI. So we did a research project on apples. So they had to learn how to do all of those research skills, typing on the internet search bar, how to find the link, where to go and verify the information, where to find the date, that the site was published, who's the author, all that kind of information they had to first go do by themselves. Then they were fully equipped to do the AI project themselves because they already had the foundational skills and they knew what was expected of them. So for this specific research project, Knowledge Network got the learners from grade 4 to grade 7 to start with AI. And it's so exciting because this is the very first year that this has been introduced. It's the very first time I have taught it, the very first time the school has experienced this, all the learners, as well as Knowledge Network. So it's so exciting to be the first to experience this year in 2025. And what we did is we gave the learners a research task on an animal. It was the black-footed cat, which is one of the smallest wild cats, in Southern Africa. Then what we got the learners to do, what I think is very important before you even start with anything, is to have important discussions. Set aside 5 to 10 minutes where you just discuss AI with your learners so they can get a feel for what it is, how to use it safely, how to use it responsibly. So to start off our discussion, the learners had a nice little handout where we discussed a few points on what AI is and what CoPilot would do for them. Firstly, I explained that AI is not an internet browser. I carefully explained it's more of an assistant, it's more of a helper. So if you need just information, you can rather go to an internet browser. But we wanted them to use it for a different aspect, as an assistant to help them, Then another important discussion is that we made sure that they always need to verify. AI, if it's an assistant or like a person that helps you, I explained to them that they need to also check because people make mistakes and so can CoPilot. I also explained very carefully that it is an internet cloud system. In other words, I explained that they need to be careful. All their responses, all the information is kind of stored as well online. And we needed to stress the importance of internet safety because you don't want your learners to become comfortable with giving certain personal information to an AI system because they might then run home and go and do the same thing on the internet, on social media or internet browsers. So I think it's so important to have a conversation and explain to them AI if it's your assistant, you've never technically met this person in real life. You're dealing with them online, which means they are a stranger to you. Stress the idea of stranger danger. Don't give out personal information. I think it's such an important habit to instill from the first lesson. Explain. We had a lovely discussion actually where the learners sort of discussed what kind of information you don't tell strangers, especially on the internet. And we came up with, you don't give your full name, we don't give our address where we live, we don't even give what city we're in, or we don't give what school we go to. Okay. The city could be used if you're using it for geographical reasons, okay, for example, to help with the weather or something like that. But very important, don't give the school name, don't give their personal name, and other information like that. So what we said is, let's rather be less specific about our personal aspects. But then again, I also asked the learners, okay, if these are the things we cannot tell CoPilot, what should we be telling CoPilot to ensure we get the correct response? So we spoke a little bit about prompts and what kind of information should be given. Then finally, we discussed about using it responsibly. In other words, not just copying and pasting and not checking or reading anything. I really stress that they need to read all the data, every single sentence that CoPilot gave them. Mm-hmm. And number 2, they needed to verify it. So go and check the websites. And number 3, they needed to edit it. Okay, so they needed to put their own little spin, change a few words, take out irrelevant things, make it formatted really beautifully. So what I did is, once we had our little discussion, I called all of the learners and I got them to actually fold their arms. This is something I do, and it's really effective in the computer lab, or if you have learners using iPads, whatever device they are using, even if they are writing with a pencil. I think it's so important when you're going to do a demonstration and you're going to model what is expected, get them to fold their arms. In that way, they cannot fiddle, they cannot type, they cannot click on their mouse, okay? Their undivided attention is on the projector board. And then it becomes a nice whole class activity where everyone is kind of engaged in what we are doing. So what I did is, I opened up CoPilot on my computer at school and I put it up on the projector and we did it together as a class. We spoke about manners, okay? I wanted the learners to understand that since it's an assistant that's helping us, okay, even though they know that it's not a human, I really stress the importance of manners because our school values that very highly. So we spoke about using please and thank you, introducing yourself a bit. Okay, we settled on the idea of using a fake name, which also created a bit of a fun element. The learners really liked the creative liberty to make up a name for themselves, okay, for CoPilot to call them by. And you can also turn it into a class activity, get them to vote on a name that you're going to use as a class. So what we did is I said, okay, I typed on my computer, hello, my name is, okay, and I made up a name, and then I said, okay, what do we need to tell CoPilot? We're not telling it what school we're in, where we're living, what our name is. What are we going to tell CoPilot? And we settled on saying, I am in grade 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, and we had a little bit of discussion on why that's important. Ask your learners, why do we need to tell CoPilot or our assistant what grade we are in? And have a little bit of discussion on the appropriate age language. I simply explained to them, if you just say your name and don't give more information, your assistant could think you are in grade 1 or at a university level. So tell it your grade so you get relevant information that is appropriate and that you can understand. Okay, not too easy, not too difficult. And ChatGPT and CoPilot do this very, very well. So then we had to be specific on what we wanted. So for this research project, the learners, let's say, had to do 3 headings and points on the black-footed cat. So what I said is, okay, I typed out, I need some interesting facts on the black-footed cat. And then I asked my learners, how many points do you think it's going to give us? Is it going to give us 2 bullet points? Is it going to give us 20 bullet points? And then I said no. we cannot read through so much information if it happens to give us 20 bullet points. If we are on a time crunch, okay, as all lessons are, we need to be more specific. So I said, okay, if we are going to take away 3 headings, let's ask CoPilot for 6 bullet points, and we can read through and find our 3 favorite interesting facts on the animal. So we did that. And then I stopped and I said, okay, what should we end off with? Okay, obviously some of them said, please, thank you, all right. And then we also settled on the fact that, okay, if we looked in our research brief, we had to also have a bibliography or a reference list. And I said, how can we ask CoPilot to make it easier for us? So what we did is we typed out a little sentence and it said something like, please include where you found this information, or please include the websites you used to generate this information. And then once we were happy with our prompt, it was only about 3 or 4 sentences. Then I got the learners to do a little drum roll. We got all excited, and as I pressed enter, the whole class was just in awe of how quickly CoPilot spat out the information. And one of the student teachers was there for 2 of these lessons last week when I taught them. And she was also like, wow, the learners are so excited. There was such a buzz in the classroom as we all just awed at how quickly the response took. It was a matter of seconds, and the learners were completely flabbergasted. So once they had all settled a bit, I read through all the information with them. So we went through that 3-step process, reading the data, verifying the data, and then I showed them how to copy and paste it and edit it in their Word document, to reword it a little bit, to make it all neat with headings and a table of content, so it was all laid out really beautifully, okay, and formatted well. Then once that was done, I let the learners do that part of it, okay, so I broke the project up into 2 sessions. Once they had done that, the whole time I was walking around, checking them. Most importantly, what I had on the board was not the entire prompt. Okay, for grade 4, yes, they needed some more assistant and modeling. But from grade 5 upwards, I left some spaces, some blanks for them to fill in, because I think it's so important for them to learn how to write clearly. It's going to help them a lot with their language. So what I did was, instead of saying the whole prompt on the board, I just put out some sentence starters and helpers, and they had to be more specific themselves. So for example, I would say, hi, my name is ... I am ... They had to say in grade 4, in grade 5, in grade 6. I need ... They had to write 6 interesting facts on the black-footed cat for a school project. Then I wrote, please include ... And they had to remember to ask it where they found their information from. Okay. And they also had a lot of fun making up their own names, okay, and seeing the kind of information that came up. A lot of them did ask me what they did wrong, if they asked it too vaguely. Sometimes they got too many bullet points, sometimes they only had a few. So we learned a lot through that process, and I think it's so important also, if you are teaching a computer lesson, don't touch the learners' mouses, don't touch their keyboards. You're going to help them, but not do it for them. The only way they are going to learn is if you explain to them what to do and you guide them, yes, of course, but don't do it for them. Okay, so rather point where they must go. Ask them questions to get them to think and remember from the demonstration on what they should do, and get them to practice those fine motor control movements of clicking, copying and pasting, okay, and maneuvering the computers themselves. Then finally, once that was all done, again, one of the student teachers helped me, and that was a good learning experience for her as well. And once everyone had kind of almost finished that part of it, I called everyone to fold their arms again, and I did another demonstration on the board. And this time we did picture generation. So part of the task was getting AI CoPilot to generate a picture of the animal they were researching. So we played around with that, and actually a good point to prove to them how important words were is I purposely made a little mistake in one of my prompts. So what I did is, once everyone was looking at the projector, I said, okay, let's ask CoPilot for a picture. So I said, please find me a picture of the black-footed cat. And what it came up with, it didn't come up with a picture, surprisingly. It just brought up a website link to take me to, for example, Google Images or a special site that had pictures of this animal. And so I said, okay, no, I don't want an internet picture. I want a picture made by CoPilot. What should we ask it? So then we got the learners to throw around different words, getting them to think a bit. And finally, we landed on the word generate. And that was the key word also from Knowledge Network that we were supposed to use. And so I wrote the prompt out and I said, hi, please generate me a picture of a black-footed cat. Then I said to the learners, okay, but what is the habitat like? What is the time of day? What is the action the cat is going to be doing? So I got the learners to basically think they need to be a bit more specific with their prompts. We typed out, please generate me a picture of the black-footed cat hunting for prey at night in its natural habitat. And we waited. It took a bit longer than the writing part to generate the picture. But once the picture had generated again, there was this awestruck moment that was so exciting as the learners oohed and ahed at the wonderful picture that it generated. So then again, on the board, all I said is, hi, please generate me, ... And the learners had to go and fill in what kind of picture they wanted, okay? And then I let them do that by themselves. Of course, there were learners who said, please find me a picture. So I had to redirect them and ask them, okay, what did you ask? Did you use the correct prompt? Okay, use questions to steer them into the right direction. And finally, once everyone had their picture, just a fun fact, if you use CoPilot, my school had to use CoPilot Microsoft 365 version because it's only compatible with school, Google, or Outlook accounts. It only lets you generate one picture per day. So if you are teaching more than one grade or one class in a day and you want them to generate pictures, you need to be a bit creative. So what I did was, for example, if I had a grade 6 class and then a grade 4 class later in the day, I would get the grade 4 class to go and look for the grade 6 class's work on CoPilot, and they would have to use their picture, and then they would critique what's right, what's wrong about their picture, okay? What's lovely as well about what Knowledge Network taught us is that the learners didn't just copy and paste the picture, but they had to analyze it as well. They had to give their opinions and their thoughts on the generated picture. So it's really bringing in some analytical thinking as well. Okay, we're not teaching our learners just to be absorbers. They need to be thinking outside the box and analyzing things as well and checking AI. That's going to be one of the top new skills going forward. I can see it. So once all the learners had got their picture, we had a discussion on the picture that my CoPilot generated. And we spoke about what was good about the picture, what was bad about the picture, okay, what maybe was true or false. For example, the black-footed cat is a nocturnal animal. So I said anyone whose picture showed sunlight and the cat being very active, like hunting, maybe they could write there, this might not be true as it's a nocturnal animal and it should only hunt at night, okay? So I was really getting them to make sure that they were reading the information, okay, as well. Then, once that was all done, I was very impressed with the learners and they just did an amazing job. And I just hope that other teachers as well can be confident going into teaching AI. I'm very fortunate. I got a lot of support from Knowledge Network and also some research online. But overall, it was such a fun experience. I learned so much and I'm so excited to go forward into my next AI lesson so that I've come with a lot more experience now. I know what works, what doesn't work, and hopefully you are also excited to bring this to your classroom. Don't be afraid. It's really such a fun activity, and as long as you get the learners to also think and analyze and verify all the information, it's going to be a ton of fun. Make it fun, let them generate names. When they are done, I also encourage them to go and chat with CoPilot. A very popular one was we asked CoPilot to tell us some jokes, and the kids absolutely loved it. So yes, have fun with it. And let me know if you teach an AI lesson, how it goes, what you learn. If you have taught many AI lessons, please feel free to also share your expertise and knowledge on how we could improve. So thank you so much for watching this video, and best of luck on your education ventures and growth.